Welcome to Let's Talk Books. This is specifically for young adult books for winter and spring 2018. My name is Mandy Peterson. I'm super psyched to share some books with you today. Here's how I know what books are coming out. I stock Amazon's coming soon section. I have had them save me many times from forgetting to order the next book in a series, or perhaps a book I was not able to pre-order that had a lot of hype around it. I follow authors and publishers on Twitter and interact with them frequently. I have an active Goodreads account and many friends who are active readers as well. I follow Epic Reads both on their website and on Twitter. Their website is fantastic. They have quizzes and blog posts, and I wind up using a lot of their graphics in my displays around the library. If you email them and ask for permission, they're happy to give that to you. And my final resource is NetGalley. I read for them. I am able to see many different books coming out at different times. And that's where quite a few of our books come from today, is my experiences with NetGalley. So what's not included today is books that are the next in a series. If you're already aware of the series, I figure you'll probably do an awesome job keeping up with that on your own. What's not included also is any books that are publishing in the summer or fall of 2018. There are many coming out that are going to be excellent for us to talk about later. Let's talk about some fiction. The first thing I want to say is I'm going to give myself a little bit of a pronunciation blanket. I know that sometimes the way that we say authors' names or characters' names can differ. Please allow me the grace if I say it a little bit differently than you do. Feel free to correct me, that is fine, or feel free to just continue pronouncing characters' names as you envision them in your head instead of how I envision them in mine. The layout of the slides is pretty simple. Up at the top left, we have the publisher. The top center is the genre. The top right is the release date. And the second line is the author's names. In this case, we're talking about Fatal Throne, which is a historical fiction book with M.T. Anderson writing as King Henry VIII. He is a charismatic and extravagant ruler obsessed with both his power and king and with siring a male heir. They were his 6 queens, 6 ill-fated women, each bound for divorce or beheading or death. Told in stirring first-person accounts, Fatal Throne is at once provocative and heartbreaking, an epic tale that is also an intimate look at the royalty of the most perilous times in English history. The game can't love you back. Eve is the only girl on her school's baseball team. She knows exactly how to put sweaty macho baseball players in their place, and she's learned to focus on one thing and one thing only, being the best pitcher she can be. But when a freak accident forces her school to be absorbed by the neighboring town, Eve has to contend with a new group of guys who aren't used to having a woman on their team, and the team's star pitcher, Jamie, has no interest in being ousted from his throne. He can't afford to give up his starting slot to a new pitcher, especially a girl. As the competition between Jamie and Eve starts to heat up, so does their attraction to each other. Can they keep their heads in the game, or will they end up getting played? Escape from Aleppo is labeled as a historical fiction book. However, it does take place in 2010, so when I receive it in my genrefied library, I do plan on putting it as realistic fiction. This is an indie next list pick, and it has starred reviews from Booklist. It is December 17th, 2010, Nadia's 12th birthday and the beginning of the Arab Spring. Soon, anti-government protests erupt across the Middle East, and one by one, countries are thrown into turmoil. As civil war flares in Syria and bombs fall across Nadia's home city of Aleppo, her family decides to flee to safety. Inspired by current events, this novel sheds light on the complicated situation in Syria that has led to an international refugee crisis and tells the story of one girl's journey to safety. And I could not have 2 more different books right next to each other in this presentation. Bobby Sky, Boy Band or Die. Robert Hutch Hutchinson is out of luck. His charm and singing voice, then penchant for bursting into song at all the wrong times, can't keep him out of trouble anymore. When he's arrested again, He's given a choice: die in juvie or become a shadow, the fearless, unstoppable, and top secret guardian of a future important person, or FIP. With nothing to lose, Hutch accepts. After 2 grueling years at the Future Affairs Training and Education Center, Hutch, now 16, can barely remember the boy he once was. Ready for anything, he expects to be plunged into a battle zone. Instead, he learns that his FIP is a soon-to-be frontman of the boy band International. Worse, Hutch has to put his old talents to use. He must join the band and change his name to Bobby Sky. Is this for real? Has he really turned himself into a lethal killing machine, only to become a teen pop sensation? Run, Hide, Fight Back by April Henry. This is a perfect book for her traditional fans, as well as students who enjoy books like This Is Where It Ends by Marie Nijkamp. When a deadly shooting breaks out in a Portland shopping mall, a diverse group of teens ends up trapped behind a store's security shutter. To her own surprise, 17-year-old Miranda finds the others looking to her as their leader. But she's hiding a big secret, and she's not the only one. The group has only 3 choices: run, hide, or fight back. The wrong decision will have fatal consequences. In her masterful style, April Henry crafts an unrelenting thriller that feels chillingly close to recent headlines. The Miscalculations of Lightning Girl. Lucy Callahan was struck by lightning. She doesn't remember it, but it changed her life forever. The zap gave her genius-level math skills, and ever since, Lucy's been homeschooled. Now, at just 12 years old, she's technically ready for college. She just has to pass one more test. Middle school. Lucy's grandma insists: go to middle school for 1 year, make one friend, join one activity, and read one book that's not a math textbook. Lucy's not sure what a girl who does calculus for fun can possibly learn in 7th grade. She has everything she needs at home, where no one can make fun of her for her rigid routines or her superpowered brain. The equation of Lucy's life has already been solved, unless there's been a miscalculation. Rainbow Rowell joins the host of young adult authors writing for Marvel. The Runaways series had 2 books come out this year. The origin story came out in January, and Rainbow Rowell's book is coming out on May 1st. They're labeling it the It book of the early 2000s, with the original cast is back. Could it be Gert is back? The heart of the Runaways died years ago, but you won't believe how she returns. Superstar author Rainbow Rowell makes her Marvel debut in this series that will shock you and break your heart. Did Chase and Gert's love survive their time apart? Have Carolina and Nico's feelings made their friendship impossible? What emotional landmines lie in wait to destroy the Runaways? The Cheerleaders. This book hovers between mystery and thriller. I placed it in this section due to its heart-pounding nature, but a good portion of the story is spent trying to figure out who done it. There are no more cheerleaders in the town of Sunnybrook. First, there was the car accident, 2 girls gone after hitting a tree on a rainy night. Not long after, the murders happened. Those 2 girls were killed by the man next door. The police shot him, so no one will ever know why he did it. Monica's sister was the last cheerleader to die. After her suicide, Sunnybrook High disbanded the cheer squad. No one wanted to be reminded of the girls they lost. That was 5 years ago. Now the faculty and students at Sunnybrook High want to remember the lost cheerleaders, but for Monica, it's not that easy. She just wants to forget. Only Monica's world is starting to unravel. There are the letters in her stepdad's desk, an unearthed years-old cell phone, a strange new friend at school. Whatever happened 5 years ago isn't over. Some people in town know more than what they're saying, and somehow Monica is at the center of it all. August and Everything After. Fans of Sarah Dessen and Jenny Han will love this contemporary coming-of-age romance. Graduation was supposed to be a relief, except Quinn can't avoid the rumors that plagued her throughout high school or the barrage of well-intentioned questions about her college plans. How is she supposed to know what she wants to do for the next 4 years, let alone the rest of her life? And why does no one understand that it's hard for her to think about the future or feel as if she even deserves one when her best friend is dead? Spending the summer with her aunt on the Jersey Shore may just be the fresh start Quinn so desperately needs. And when she meets Malcolm, a musician with his own haunted past, she starts to believe in second chances. Can Quinn find true love while finding herself? Tiny Infinities. What's Alice going to do? When 12-year-old Alice's dad moves out, he leaves her with a depressive mother. Alice does the only thing that feels right. She retreats to her family's old Renaissance tent in the backyard, determined to live there until her dad comes home. In an attempt to keep at least one part of her summer from changing, Alice focuses on her quest to swim freestyle fast enough to get her name on her swim team's record board. But soon, Alice meets an odd new friend, Harriet, whose obsession with the school science fair is equal only to her conviction that Alice's best stroke is the backstroke, not freestyle. Most unexpected of all is an unusual babysitting charge, Piper, who is mostly deaf and entirely mute until Alice hears her speak a word. This book is a Junior Library Guild selection as well. Ship It. This reminds me a lot of Rainbow Rowell's book Fangirl. Claire is a 16-year-old fangirl obsessed with the show Demon Heart. Forrest is an actor on Demon Heart who dreams of bigger roles. When the two meet at a local Comic-Con panel, it's a dream come true for Claire. Until the Q&A, that is, when Forrest laughs off Claire's assertion that his character is gay. Claire is devastated. After all, every last word of her super popular fanfic revolves around the romance between Forrest's character and his male frenemy. She can't believe her hero turned out to be a closed-minded jerk. Forrest is mostly confused that anyone would think his character's gay because he's not, definitely not. Unfortunately for Demon Heart, when the video of the disastrous Q&A goes viral, the producers have a PR nightmare on their hands. In order to help bolster their image, which is within the LGBTQ plus community, as well as with their fans, they hire Claire to join the cast for the rest of the publicity tour. What ensues is a series of colorful Comic-Con clashes between the fans and the show that led Forrest to question his assumptions about sexuality and help Claire come out of her shell. But how far will Claire go to make her ship canon? To what lengths will Forrest go to stop her and protect his career? A Rouge Affair and the End of Time. Best-selling author Rick Riordan introduces this adventure about 12-year-old Rouge Affair, who has a tendency to stretch the truth in order to fit in at school. While her classmates are jetting off to family vacations and exotic locales, she'll be spending her summer break at home in the Museum of Ancient Indian Art and Culture, waiting for her mom to return from her latest archaeological trip. Is it any wonder that Aru makes up stories about being royalty, traveling to Paris, and having a chauffeur? One day, 3 schoolmates show up at Aru's doorstep and catch her in a lie. They don't believe her claim that the museum's lamp is cursed, and they dare Aru to prove it. Just a quick light, Aru thinks. Then she can get herself out of this mess and never ever fib again. But lighting the lamp has dire consequences. How is one girl in Spider-Man pajamas going to stop a demon and save her friends? Bookish boyfriends. Boys are so much better in books, at least according to Marilee Campbell, who thinks real-life chivalry is dead, and there'd be nothing more romantic than having a guy woo her like the heroes in classic stories. Then she, her best friend Eliza, and her younger sister Rory transfer to Reginald R. Hero Prep, where all the boys look exactly like they've stepped off the pages of a romance novel. Mary can hardly walk across the quad without running into someone who reminds her of Romeo. When the brooding and complicated Monroe Stratford scales Mary's trellis in an effort to make her his, she thinks she might be Juliet incarnate. But as she works her way through her literature curriculum under the guidance of a teacher, Mary's tale begins to unfold in ways she couldn't have imagined. Mary soon realizes that only she is in charge of her story, and it is a truth universally acknowledged that the first impressions can be deceiving. Fury born. When assassins ambush her best friend, Riel risks everything to save him, exposing herself as one of a pair of prophesied queens, a queen of light and a queen of blood. To prove she is the Sun Queen, Riel must endure 7 elemental magic trials. If she fails, she will be executed unless the trials kill her first. 1,000 years later, the legend of Queen Riel is a fairy tale to Eliana. A bounty hunter for the Undying Empire, Eliana believes herself untouchable until her mother vanishes. To find her, Eliana joins a rebel captain and discovers that the evil at the Empire's heart is more terrible than she ever imagined. As Riel and Eliana fight in a cosmic war that spans millennia, their stories intersect and the shocking connections between them ultimately determine the fate of their world and of each other. Suitors and sabotage. Shy aspiring artist Imogen has just had a successful season in London, complete with a suitor of her father's approval. Imogen is ambivalent about the young gentleman until he comes to visit her at their estate with his younger brother in tow. When her interest is piqued, however, it's for the wrong brother, and he is soon smitten by the young lady he considers to be his brother's intended. But hiding their true feelings becomes the least of their problems when, after a series of accidents, it becomes apparent that someone means Ben harm. And as their affection for each other grows, despite their efforts to remain just friends, so does the danger. Out of the Blue is a story that's perfect for patrons who feel underrepresented in literature. If they're biracial, Sri Lankan, gay, or have terminal illness, this book should be in their hands. Jaya's life has completely fallen apart. Her mother is dead, her dad is on an obsessive wild goose chase, and mysterious winged beings are falling from the sky. For the past 9 months, none of them have survived the plummet to Earth. But when a female being lands near Jaya and is still alive, she doesn't call the authorities. She hides the being and tries to nurse her back to health. Set against the backdrop of a society trying to come to grips with the possibility of a world beyond, Out of the Blue is the story of how one unexpected turn of events can put you on a path to healing. I Have Lost My Way. Around the time that Freya loses her voice while recording her debut album, Haroon is making plans to run away from everyone he has ever loved, and Nathaniel is arriving in New York City with a backpack, a desperate plan, and nothing left to lose. When a fateful accident draws these 3 strangers together, their secrets start to unravel as they begin to understand the way out of their own loss might just lie in helping the others out of theirs. An emotionally cathartic story of losing love, finding love, and discovering the person you are meant to be. I Have Lost My Way is best-selling author Gail Forman at her finest. Ashe Princess is perfect for fans of Victoria Aveyard's Red Queen and Sabaa Tahir's An Ember in the Ashes. Theodisia was 6 when her country was invaded, and her mother, the Fire Queen, was murdered before her eyes. On that day, the Kaiser took Theodisia's family, her lands, and her name. Theo was crowned the Ashe Princess, a title of shame to bear in her new life as a prisoner. For 10 years, Theo was a captive in her own palace. She's endured the relentless abuse and ridicule of the Kaiser and his court. She is powerless, surviving in her own world by burying the girl she was deep inside. Then one night, the Kaiser forces her to do the unthinkable. With blood on her hands and all hope of reclaiming her throne lost, she realizes surviving is no longer enough. But she does have a weapon. Her mind is sharper than any sword, and power isn't always won on the battlefield. For 10 years, the Ashe Princess has seen her land pillaged and her people enslaved. That all ends here. Give this to your patient readers who don't mind a lot of character and world building. It's the first 50% of the book. It does pick up significantly after that. The Legend of Jack Riddle. So what if 12-year-old Jack's great-great-great-great-great-aunt has oddly youthful looks? It's probably cosmetic surgery, or a hat that she never removes, fashion victim, or goes out into the creepy forest at midnight to play bingo. That must be what people do in the country. Who cares about that when her cottage doesn't even have Wi-Fi? Forced to visit his distant relative with the unusual name of Gretel, Jack is about to find out that fairy tales aren't sparkly, cheesy love stories. They're dark, they have claws, they're a warning. And when you're the unwilling hero of your own fairy tale, you might be the one who's taught a nasty lesson. What if every choice you made created an alternate reality? Atticus Higginbottom, aka Tick, is an average 13-year-old boy until the day he receives a strange letter. How lucky that you found my message. Reality is in danger of splitting at the seams, and I hope you have the courage of heart to help. You will soon receive 12 clues. Solve them and face an important destiny. Don't, and many lives will be at risk. The decision is yours. M.G. Will Tick have the courage to follow the 12 clues and discover the life he was meant to live? This is a story perfect for fans of This Is Where It Ends. If you think your patrons would enjoy April Henry's Run, Hide, Fight Back, this book will be another easy sell for them. A congresswoman's daughter who has to be perfect, a star quarterback with a secret, a guy who's tired of being ignored, a clarinet player who's done trying to fit in, an orphaned rebel who wants to teach someone a lesson, a guy who wants people to see him, not his religion. They couldn't be more different, but before the morning's over, they'll all be trapped in the school that's been rocked by a bombing. When they hear that someone inside is the bomber, they'll also be looking to one another for answers. Told from multiple perspectives, Time Bomb will keep readers guessing about who the bomber could be and what motivated such a drastic action. Heart of Iron is perfect for fans of Six Crows, Cinder, and the cult classic television show Firefly, which is what actually drew me to the book. 17-year-old Anna is a scoundrel by nurture and an outlaw by nature. Found as a child drifting through space with a sentient android called D09, Anna was saved by a fearsome space captain and the grizzled crew she now calls family. But D09, one of the last remaining illegal metals, has been glitching, and Anna will stop at nothing to find a way to fix him. Anna's desperate effort to save her android leads her on a quest to steal the coordinates to a lost ship that could offer all the answers. But at the last moment, a spoiled Ironblood boy beats Anna to her prize. He has its own reasons for taking the coordinates, and he doesn't care what he'll sacrifice to get them. What they find in a lost corner of the universe will change their lives and unearth dangerous secrets. But when darkness from Anna's past returns, she must face an impossible choice. Does she protect a kingdom that wants her dead, or save the metal boy she loves? A Girl Like That is the first book I've read that took place in Saudi Arabia. 16-year-old Zarin is many things: a bright, vivacious student, an orphan, and a risk taker. She's also the kind of girl that parents warn their kids to stay away from, a troublemaker whose many romances are the subject of endless gossip at school. So how is it that 18-year-old Porus has ever only had eyes for her? And how did Zarin and Porus end up dead in a car together, crashed on the side of a highway in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia? When the religious police arrive on the scene, everything everyone thought they knew about Zarin is questioned. And as her story is pieced together, told through multiple perspectives, it becomes clear that she was far more than just a girl like that. This book tackles complicated issues of race, identity, class, and religion, and paints a portrait of teenage ambition, angst, and alienation that feels both inventive and universal. Jude was 7 years old when her parents were murdered, and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to live in the treacherous High Court of Fairy. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to belong there, despite her mortality. But many of the Fae despise humans, especially Prince Cardan, the youngest and wickedest son of the High King. To win a place at the court, she must defy him and face the consequences. The Way We Fall is a re-release of a book previously published by Disney Hyperion. Looks like they're going to be relaunching the entire series through Another World Press. It starts with an itch you just can't shake. Then comes a fever and a tickle in your throat. A few days later, you'll be blabbing your secrets and chatting with strangers like they're old friends. 3 more, and the paranoid hallucinations will kick in. And then you're dead. When 16-year-old Kaylin lets her best friend leave for school without saying goodbye, she never dreams that she might not see him again. Then a strange virus begins to sweep through her small island community, infecting young and old alike. As the dead pile up, the government quarantines the island. No one can leave, and no one can come back. Cut off from the world, the remaining islanders must fend for themselves. Supplies are dwindling, fatalities rising, and panic is turning into violence. With no cure in sight, Kaylin knows their only hope for survival is to band together. Desperate to save her home, she joins forces with a former rival and opens her heart to a boy she once feared. In Her Skin, I went back and forth about this book so much, trying to decide how I feel about it. If you've ever read Kim Savage, I think you'll connect with that quite a bit. Jo was taught all about the con life by her mother. Now she cons on her own. The perfect con falls right into her lap, and Jo cannot resist presenting herself as the long missing girl, Vivi. And from there, everything gets twisted. I can't say too much, but holy cats, I loved the storyline on this book, and the character development is fantastic. It's great for illustrating, foreshadowing, body language, character arcs, and it touches on many sensitive issues: sexual abuse, death of a parent, homelessness, and mental illness. On to some nonfiction. My Anxiety Handbook, helping young people with anxiety learn to recognize and manage their symptoms. This anxiety survival guide teaches 12 to 18-year-olds how they can overcome their biggest worries. Showing that anxiety is a normal human emotion that many people face, this book helps young people understand the ins and outs of their own anxiety and helps them to challenge the difficult patterns they may get into. Co-written with a college student who has had experience of anxiety herself, it is a relatable and straightforward guide, as well as providing tried and tested advice and exercises that are proven to reduce feelings of anxiety. It includes recovery stories from young people who've managed their own symptoms successfully. With practical chapters on sleep, exam stress, transitions, and seeking extra help, this is a go-to guide for any tween, teen, or young person living with anxiety. I realize this book is for ages 4 and up. However, the message contained in this book makes it valuable enough that I think it should be presented in high schools, whether it's in a library or it's read aloud to students in a class. I Am Enough is the picture book everyone needs. The gorgeous lyrical ode to loving who you are, respecting others, and being kind to one another. We're all here for a purpose. We are more than enough. We just need to believe it. Be the Change. With a unique mix of history and inspiration, Be the Change gives young readers the tools and encouragement needed to be the change they wish to see in the world. With a lighthearted approach, the authors enlighten readers on the great change makers in history, the structure of community systems, and offer fun and creative project ideas to help budding activists get started making a difference right away. Using fun graphics and easy to follow instructions, the straightforward visual guide shows young learners how to build their own computer projects using Python, an easy yet powerful free programming language available for download. Perfect for kids aged 10 and over who are ready to take a second step after Scratch, coding projects in Python teaches kids how to build amazing graphics, fun games, and useful apps. All they need is a desktop or laptop and an internet connection to download Python 3. The simple logical steps in coding projects in Python are fully illustrated with fun pixel art and build on the basics of coding so kids can have the skills to build whatever kind of project they can dream up. For Everyone by Jason Reynolds. This book is exactly what it says. For everyone, for every person, for every one dream, but especially for every one kid. The kids who dream of being better than they are, kids who dream of doing more than they almost dare to dream, kids who are like Jason Reynolds, a self-professed dreamer. Jason does not claim to know how to make dreams come true. He has, in fact, been fighting on the front line of his own battle to make his own dreams a reality. He expected to make it when he was 16, then 18, then 25. Now, some of those expectations have been realized, but others, the most important ones, lay ahead, and some of them involve kids, how to inspire them. All the kids who are scared to dream or don't know how to dream or don't dare to dream because they've never seen a dream come true. Jason wants kids to know that dreams take time. They involve countless struggles. But no matter how many times a dreamer gets beat down, the drive and the passion and the hope never fully extinguish because just having the dream is the start you need, or you won't get anywhere anyway. And that's when you have to take a leap of faith. Now, this is technically a book in a series in that the series showcases different sports for the same publisher. The baseball fan book contains all the nerdy, cool insider knowledge that fans need for next level, in-depth stats to impress their friends, family, coaches, and any season ticket holders they may meet. Tailor-made for baseball fanatics ages 8 and up who know the basics of the sport, may play it, and are looking to become super fans. This new fan book is filled with fun trivia, unique lingo, and illustrated behind the skills how-tos. Chapters include team tidbits, baseball facts about every Major League Baseball team, think like a manager, essential strategies to understand. He reminds me of, that compares current players to legendary greats, and much more. Now, I included this in a young adult setting also, because if your school's like mine, you do have some people who are newly arrived to the United States or who may just getting into different sports at the high school level. This is a good place for them to begin. The last book we're going to talk about today is How I Resist. Now more than ever, young people are motivated to make a difference in a world they're bound to inherit. They're ready to stand up and be heard, but with much to shout about. Where do they begin? What can I do? How can I help? How I Resist is the response and the way to start a conversation, to show readers that they're not helpless and that anyone can be the change. A collection of essays, songs, illustrations, and interviews about activism and hope. How I Resist features an all-star group of contributors, including Libba Bray, Lauren Duca, Modern Family's Jesse Tyler Ferguson and his husband, Jodi Picoult, Jason Reynolds, Saba Tahir, Jacqueline Woodson, and many more. Thanks for joining me today. I know we went a little bit fast through some of those. I hope you found some great finds for your patrons and maybe to add to your own TBR list. If you would like to contact me, please don't hesitate to reach out on Twitter at Mandy R. Peterson.